Welcome everybody to Pitch Strike Chronicles podcast. I am Tats, and yesterday was just a wild day. It was an exciting day, capped off with some very upsetting news. But let's start in the order of how the day went, and that was starting with the trade deadline, and it was just a frenzy. It really turned into that. A lot of teams had some movement going on, and there were teams that you were waiting for that big splash that never came. The Mets is one of them. Talking with Nikki yesterday, we wanted to see them be able to add to their bullpen, and they really weren't able to do that. The Padres just went on a tear, and they actually pulled it off and landed Soto, and that was something that the Padres are always in on everybody. And the way that how they were able to execute that, I think that the Nationals really could have gotten a better package. Not that it was a terrible package. It was almost ruined by the fact that Eric Hosmer has the Nationals on his no trade list, so they had to get a little creative there. And we saw they threw in Luke Voigt in lieu of Hosmer. And Hosmer ended up getting moved. Anyway, the other interesting move was the fact that Whit Merrifield was also moved to Toronto. And what's going to make that tricky, and I'm sure it'll come out today that everything's been rectified, is the question of Merrifield's vaccination status and having to play in Toronto and going back and forth between the United States and Canada. And with the strict rules that Canada holds on vaccination statuses coming into the country. So that's going to be something that a lot of baseball fans are going to keep an eye on, because he is such an impact player. Whit Merrifield was a player that we had talked about many times over, being a part of the Yankees. And so it stings that he's in the American League East now with Toronto, but it is what it is. The Yankees were able to make some moves. The Montage trade, like we talked about yesterday. They also made a deal with the Cardinals that I was not a little upset. I was very upset about that they moved on from Monty. Monty was a guy that he wasn't that superstar name, but he was I would say my favorite non-superstar of this Yankee roster. I really enjoyed watching him pitch. I've always felt that we haven't even seen the close of what he could be. So he was that lefty that we needed in the middle of the rotation. So we'll see how the for batter where it turns out who won that trade, and we'll also be seeing Monty. His first start with the Cardinals this weekend, because we go to St. Louis. So that's going to be interesting on that reunion. I always find it very intriguing when you have a player that you traded away and that first start is against the team that just dealt them. So I always find that really interesting. So that's I'm looking forward to watching that game. Seeing Jordan Montgomery, and I wish him well, and I'm sure all the fans wish him well. He did nothing wrong. He really didn't. It was just it was a baseball move. They needed to make room on the roster, that move around some money, and he was the odd man out, and it sucks. It really does. But baseball wise, the outfielder, do we need another center fielder? Yeah, because you don't know what his defensive abilities. As me, Donald, and Rob were talking on our own private chat, this could pay dividends in October, and that's really what it's all about. Players come and go. Players, sometimes they stick with you the whole time, sometimes they don't. We all want our favorite guys to stay with us for their entire career, but that's not how the baseball business works. It's not manageable. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out for his career. And like I said, I wish him the best. The Padres, I want to go back to them because they signed. We said they were going to be in on everybody, and they were. And it makes you wonder what's going to happen with that NL East. And it's when you look at the standings, you got the Dodge. They're 11.5 back on the Dodgers. The Padres are. So when you look at the wild card race, you have them in Atlanta right now would be in the wild card game. I don't know how teams in the NL are going to navigate that lineup. They are just going to be a powerhouse. They really are. That's going. The NL is going to be the league to watch in October because it's going to be a very hard fought postseason for them. The American League, you didn't see a lot of teams boost their rosters so much where it's like, okay, now they're a threat. I didn't get that impression from any of the teams. I think the teams that we knew were going to be in that the strengths of the postseason in with the Yankees and the Astros, those are the two teams that stood out that were like, okay, we know we're going to have to face each other. Let's try to make some moves to kind of counter what the other team is doing and try to get the upper hand. And I think with the way that the moves that were made, I want to say because of the pitching, the Yankees need to be able to just kind of hold back the bats from the Astros from putting up insurance runs. They're good, both teams are going to score against the other pitching staffs. It's just a matter of which team could prevent the insurance runs in those postseason games because they were most of the time the Yankees and Astros play very tight to the vest, and you don't see the blowout wins. There have been a couple, but it's not a common thing that we see. And the Yankees, I think, with the way that they reconstructed themselves, I think that they are primed to be able to have that insurance run come in because you have the contact hitters that can put the ball in play, not just swing for the home run. And we haven't seen Benintendi get to the best start. And we're going to get to some more of the moves that the Yankees did make. But, Benintendi is kind of – I'm waiting to see if he's going to have that moment where he is going to be more of a key contributor. And we're just going to have to wait and see on Benintendi of if he can really get himself situated into this Yankee team and be that guy that we thought we were getting. Donald, how are you today?
How are you feeling about Monty, man? You must be upset.
I already went over. I'll backtrack a little bit. It was. I was pissed. I can't hide it. When your favorite, when one of your favorite players is moved, it hurts. And like I said, I was going to. I slept on it, and I think that baseball, in the baseball business point of view, it was a move that will make sense in October, like you and Rob are saying. I think that's when we're going to see the payoff for the move. It's just going to hurt for a little bit for me.
Well, no, I mean, listen, this is not a popular trade. I mean, the Yankee fans are upset. You're obviously part of them, so why don't you give, your opinion on how this plays out? Do you think this is a mistake or what?
The fact that he's in, Bader. The fact that he's injured right now is what's really soiling the move. And that's what's making it very hard for the Yankee. A lot of Montgomery fans, that's what's making it frustrating. Because you took a guy that had an impact now for a guy that might have an impact in October if he's fully healthy.
So, yeah, he's been hurt since about June. And plantar fasciitis is not something that's easy to recover from. It's not like a click your
Yeah.
fingers and you're going to be fine. I mean, it's not the greatest injury to have. He's in a walking boot right now. And if you listen to other opinions, like for instance, John Boy Media, they were saying this is not a good deal in terms of like value because you give up a starter who's reliable every 5 days for someone who's injured. It's not the same equitable trade trade response. So I mean, how do you feel about that?
Monty had more value than what we got back from him. That's the sums it all up in one sentence. Here was a guy, and the way I always describe the way I was describing Monty to a friend of mine that was trying to figure out why I was so pissed off at work last night. And I'm like, Monty's that guy who's you could lock in for 6 innings. He's going to be effective for 4 or 5 of them. And he's just going to have that one inning where you ask how he's even on the roster. So he always had that one inning.
Oh, that's okay then.
No, but he always gets one. There's always that one inning with him where he just gets shelled. And he just has a hard time navigating, getting through the lineup. But you're going to get 6 out of him. He's not, even when he does get hit, he's not giving up a lot of runs. I think the most runs he's given up this year in an inning was, in those innings was 5. But he was a guy, and like I said, it was a lefty. He didn't have, he wasn't a high velocity guy like everybody, that people clamor for. But when he had control of his off speed, he was a very effective pitcher. And the what hurt his stats the most was the lack of run support. Otherwise, his numbers could have looked a little better. Not a lot better, a little better.
Yeah, okay. You're not wrong, but okay, so here's the other side. This is the way I view it because I'm happy that Monty's gone. I didn't like it. I don't think he's got plus stuff, right? I don't like any of his stuff. He's very slow in his delivery, and his off speed is average. Everything is average. Okay, everything is just average. He's a mid, right? And Clark Schmidt, who were looking to give him room to make an impression in the starting rotation, he is our best arm prospect, and now that frees up room for him, and his stuff is exponentially better than Montgomery's. It's not even close. They're not even comparable. So, like Clark Schmidt has got vicious movement on his curveball. I want that in my rotation. Now, he's not currently penciled in as a 5th starter, but I think after the 14 days, I think he can be, and I think it opens up a room for him. Sevy as well. By mid-September, into September, he will be ready.
Will he?
And he was really upset that the Yankees put him on the 60-day DL because he said he feels he's ready, or he's going to be ready. So, those 2 guys are right there. Now, Domingo Germán, awful in his first start, but he's been better his last 2. Right? He's going to give you pretty much what Montgomery gives you. Because let's look at what Montgomery's given you over his last 6 starts, right? Now, this is when we're getting to mid-season. We need him to step up, right? And we've given him run support. And over his last 6 starts, the Yankees have lost all 6 of his starts. Now, he's not personally lost them all, but the Yankees have, right? They've lost all 6 of his previous starts. And he's gone absolutely tattooed in his last 2 starts. And I was at one of them. And I'm still pissed at that. So, frankly, I don't understand why Yankee fans are so upset about Montgomery leaving, because no one's excited about Montgomery being on the mound apart from you. So, so for me, I think this is good. And now let's talk about Bader. Bader won a Gold Glove last year. He's a Gold Glove center fielder. He is a unbelievably good outfielder. And he gives you speed and he gives you intangibles. So the Yankees also are worried about Aaron Judge's uh, legs out and playing center field all the time. So that means he can move to right field. You can put him in center. You can put Benintendi in left, and that is probably the strongest outfield in the majors.
But the Yankees are taking a big gamble that he will be healthy enough to play.
In terms of defensive runs saved. But the Yankees aren't in any pressing need that they need him right now, though. So it is more of an October move because right now you can still have Judge in center. You got Stanton in right. You got Benintendi in left, or you can put Hicks in left. There's a bunch of things you can still do. You got Timmy LaCastro, who will probably be hanging around here and there until Bader's available. One scout viewed Bader as like a younger, better Brett Gardner, prime Brett Gardner, not old ancient Brett Gardner, but prime Brett Gardner. So I think this is a smart move, and also he's not a rental. We got him for next year too, so I think that means that Aaron Hicks will be gone next year, and I think a lot of this will become a lot clearer next offseason because now that there's a couple of rooms. A couple of spots left in the starting rotation that we can fill in the off season, and you know what, Montgomery won't be missed. It won't be. I don't foresee a situation where we're going. Oh, I really wish we had Montgomery's 5 innings of 4-run ball. I don't think we'll be in a position to worry about that very soon.
No, and like I said, we both feel differently towards the move, but your opinions aren't wrong. Like I said,
thanks.
But that's
thanks
what
for that. Appreciate that.
No, but
my opinions aren't wrong.
Like I said yesterday, I just feel I'm allowed to be pissed off about it for a little while. That's it.
Right.
Let me be pissed. I'll sleep on it. I'll evaluate in the morning. I'll get my head straight. Okay. Emotions aside, how does this help my team? And that's I think a lot of fans will do that in time once we actually get to see this guy on the field. If he does not heal enough to play, then you have to say that it was the bad move.
Well, not necessarily, because I've just given you 3 names that can be a fifth starter. You got Clark Schmidt, Domingo Germán, and Severino. Now, Severino is much better than a fifth starter. If anything, he's probably a 2 or a 3.
But when he's healthy.
Right, but he could. But also, let's not forget, in the playoffs, you don't need a fifth starter. Right? So, in the playoffs, you only need 4 starters. And there's so many other ways in which we can handle the 5 spot in the rotation. You can, for instance, have Domingo Germán pitch 3 innings, and then you can have a situation where our bullpen, which is now so much stronger with the acquisitions we made, and you can then ask them to fill in the rest of the innings every 5 days. There's a whole bunch of ways we do it. Fifth starter is not something to freak out about. It really isn't, because here's another way to look at it. Montas upgrade is an upgrade over Montgomery. 10 times over, 20 times over, 50 times over. Montas is an ace, right? We got an ace, right? He's going to slot in the 2 or as a number 2 starter right now, right? So he's an upgrade over Montgomery in every view possible. So I think that's another way to look at it. When you get into the playoffs, as I say, we're not going to be going, oh, I really wish we had Montgomery, because we're going to have Garrett Cole, Montas, and then you're going to have Nestor Cortez. And then your 4th starter will either be Severino or Taillon. No one is going to be – there's no spot for Montgomery there. Montgomery has never had a playoff pitching spot. There was no spot for him. And we're so far ahead in the division, we don't really need to worry about Montgomery. So I don't really know why fans are so upset about this.
Because we get very invested into players that we've watched for as long as we have. It's hard to just say, oh, well, all right, good riddance. regardless, like you said, he
Well,
wasn't.
this is the business. This is the business.
Was he going to be a playoff guy? No, we know that. I wasn't trying to say that he should be pitching behind Cole.
Right.
I'm just saying he was just a baseball player that I enjoyed watching. That it sucks that he's not with us now. And
no. I'm not arguing you liking him. I don't care about that. I mean, that's fine. Obviously, everyone has a title to love whatever player they like. I'm just saying that I'm just talking about the trade in general. Like I know I'm in the minority here because most fans are really upset about this, but in my view, I don't think it's a big. In my view, I don't think it's a big deal because we're talking about a fifth starter here, and the problem is because of this last-second trade, it's diminished all the other really good moves we made. Let's look at it. We managed to get a top. What?
Yeah, no, let's get into the other moves instead of going around.
Okay, so Joey Gallo, we got a top 10 prospect for Joey Gallo.
Thank God.
There you go. Let's be positive about that. We got a top 10 prospect for Joey Gallo. He was in the I think it was the 15th prospect in the Dodgers system, and from what I hear, that as soon as we've made that deal, Beater is now going to be our 10th prospect or something like that, right? So that's a very good trade right now for the Yankees. That's a win, right? Yeah. And the Dodgers are covering Gallo's $4 million, so that's a win. Benintendi, honestly, the reason why he's not like hitting the cover off the ball is I purely believe is where the Yankees are putting him in the order. He's not a middle of the order guy. He needs to be at the top of the order. I think the Yankees are misusing him, but I also think that this is just him just getting used to his new surroundings.
Yeah,
and in a couple of weeks time he'll be banging. I'm not worried about that. But in general, Benintendi is a huge upgrade over Gallo. So that's a win right there. Frankie Montas, we managed to get without giving up any of our top 5 prospects, which from what we heard wasn't going to be possible, but we still managed to do that. So that's a win as well. And then the relievers we managed to get, we saw one of them yesterday. He looks damn good. One from the Cubs. He looks damn good. So I think that that in general it was an A deadline. Now we were supposed to be right in with the Marlins, and I thought we were going to get Lopez. I thought that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, I thought that was the move that he was working at the same time with Montgomery.
Yes,
I thought that was just going to be just like a player swap in the rotation. We're going to subtract Monty and add Lopez.
Yeah,
I thought that was going to be, but obviously the trade with the Marlins never came to be.
Yeah,
so,
I do have a feeling that
does leave room for Schmidt now.
It does. That's what I'm saying. And we don't have a room for Clark Schmidt. We don't have room for him in the bullpen, and we don't really have room for him in the rotation. So this frees up room for Clark Schmidt. And all we've been hearing from fans is, we need to give an opportunity to Clark Schmidt. Well, this is your opportunity. Now, I hope the Yankees give him that opportunity.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's Herman. But I don't think there's a massive difference between Herman and Montgomery anyway. Obviously, Montgomery's a better person.
Yeah.
And he's just about the same pitcher.
Herman's the same pitcher as Monty, just with better velocity.
Yeah. And better movement on stuff. Yeah, I think they're much of a muchness. Again, I'm not overly worried about it. This is the team that we got. I think Cashman actually had a very, very good deadline, but I do believe that the Montgomery move was meant to clear space for them to make that deal with the Marlins. I believe that.
Yeah,
and I think the Marlins probably backed out in the last minute because from what I hear, the Yankees were right in on it, right till the very, very end, and they probably thought they had a deal in place for him, and I think that's why they made the Montgomery move. But I think that Cashman still went through with the deal because Bader's still going to be a plus defensively.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But let's hope it's sooner rather than later that he's able to get on the field and show us why why the trade will work. And that he can, that he's still at the top of, he can still play peak outfield.
Yeah.
So that's that's a move. That's one of those trades where it's a wait and see. You don't want to have it where his foot's never right and we never get to see him play.
It's not going to pay immediate dividends until we see Clark Schmidt pitch every 5 days. That's what I'm hoping, or at least get Severino's back in September. But I mean, for instance, if Severino was healthy right now, none of these fans would be upset right now because none of these fans were that happy Montgomery was pitching every 5 days anyway. If you look at Twitter, I was like, oh God, Montgomery stinks. Oh, Montgomery stinks. Right now we trade him. He's like, oh God, how could they do that? So, I think Yankee fans need to chill out a little bit. I really do.
No, and I think when it came to how Monty was treated while he was here, I think there were a handful of us. I'm putting myself in that category as a content creator. I think that a lot of us were very fair, but also equally critical to Montgomery. When he was on that, when all the pitches were in that groove in the beginning of the year, we were one of those podcasts that and I sat here and I was like, this is not going to last. We're going to enjoy it while we can, but we know that they're over. Montgomery and was one of those. He's going to settle back down. Just be prepared when he does. So it's not that we lost a key piece, and I don't want to keep repeating the whole, the whole thing, but we were also, the fact that we were also able to see Gallo gone. I think that was a very big plus move.
I think it's a good move for Joey Gallo too, man. Because
he had to get
Joey
out.
Gallo worked very, very hard. He really wanted to succeed, and he desperately wanted it to work here. Italian background, I think he loved New York. I think he loved the Yankees. And I know he loved his teammates. It just stinks that it didn't work out for him. Now, normally, I'm extremely harsh on people who don't succeed as a Yankee, but on this occasion, although he had to go, and he was basically the worst player in the majors this year, without much of a question of a doubt, the genuinely worst player in the whole entire major leagues, I still didn't hate on the guy. I wanted him gone, and he should never ever have played pinstripes. But I just knew how hard he was working, and I just know that the fans got to him. I think you just saw his interviews. He said in his interviews that he felt like he was a piece of shit because the fans were getting to him. Yeah, and I just don't think it was going to work for him. So he's going to get I think he's better on the West Coast. I think he's be slightly more relaxed, and he's still a decent ball player. And he's got the power. He just needs a calmer situation where it's not a cauldron, and I think he'll be a better player. But he never should have been a Yankee. It's literally going to be one of the worst trades in Cashman's entire career.
So real quick, what do you give the Yankees trade deadline grade?
An A minus. A minus.
I'd say A. I think it was an A, regardless of how I feel. But before we sign off, we're going to sign off a few minutes early, and that is to pay respects to the legendary broadcaster Vin Scully, who at the age of 94 has passed away. And our thoughts go out to the Vin Scully family, the Dodger family, and all the broadcasters that will miss him. So we will be signing off a little early to have a few moments of silence in memory of Vin Scully. Wear your Prince Ice with pride and play hard.